Hello, my name's Philippa Waller.
My name is Penelope Waller, and we are two of the directors at 4D Human Being.
And welcome to the 4D Human Being podcast. What's it all about, Pen?
It's all about your personal and professional relationships. It's about your communication skills, how you lead, how you work and build teams, how you are looking after yourself and your well-being, and how you are much more at choice. What do we mean by that?
Well, sometimes we can get a little caught in patterns in life and we can all be a little bit on our automatic pilot. So 4D Human Being is all about helping us get back to choice and being a four-dimensional human being. And your fourth dimension, of course,
is intention. So whether it's about your impact, your leadership style, your team dynamics, whether it's about your well-being, whether it's about your communication or your presentation skills, anything that involves human beings interacting with other human beings, 4D Human Being are here to help.
we're going to take a deep dive and look at some tools, insights, theories that are going to help you go from a 3D human doing to a 4D human being so that you can happen to the world rather than the world simply happening to you.
Yes, hello. How are you?
Very well. We're not. There's a question,
are we?
We're not 100%. We've got a little bit of the sniffly sniffles,
Yes.
and it can. I will just warn. I'm gonna hold the space and own it that it can catch. So my throat can suddenly catch, and I'm sort of choking. So I've got some water,
and then the coughing starts.
What I love is we're about to talk about how to get to healthy teams from a really unhealthy, coldy, rheumatic.
Although I don't think we're quite in the space of the toxins.
Not rheumatic, a coldy, roomy.
Yes.
I'm not talking about the poet.
No, exactly. And of course, talking to one of my daughters yesterday, they're half Italian. It's the change in the air.
Yes.
It's the change in the season.
Yeah.
So the
Obviously.
cambio d'aria or you take a colpo d'aria, a cut of air.
Yes.
That's why apparently everyone's ill at the moment.
It's not,
because it's been quite a quick transition.
Which is true. Which is absolutely true. And I think it might also have something to do with lots of people back in classrooms, not enough handy washy.
No, it's the aria. It's the aria.
It's the aria. So we are going to absolutely focus on health today.
Well, actually, we're sort of going to focus first on the opposite.
The toxins. Sort of the viruses that can get into teams.
Yeah, exactly. Team toxins, viruses.
Yeah.
Which I am going to take that toy off of Humphrey because it's the noisiest toy in my office.
Well, I have a similar squeezy chicken at my house, and let me tell you, it is permanently out of reach now because it's the bane of my life.
My youngest daughter Stella bought those, so thank you very much, Stella.
I mean, thank you, Stella. Love you. The squeezy chicken.
No. So in teams, this is the third episode. We have looked at trust, we've looked at collaboration, and today we're looking at team toxins. So we will also
team toxins so that we can get to
no, exactly. So we will absolutely look at the antidotes. So
yes.
The toxins is a really
we'll give you the jab.
Yeah, one of the many ways that you can look at the kind of blockers in teams. And then we'll give the antidotes to those toxic behaviours. Toxicity is quite a strong word, but that's what they're called in terms of how we use it in team psychology.
Yeah. So you and I
where's this going?
Are very aware that we're not feeling too good because, something's changed. We go, well, that's not usual. However, with team toxins, they're a little bit more sneaky.
Yes.
Aren't they?
Well, it's really interesting you say that, Phil, because they are sneaky, and yet we can sometimes be very good at identifying them in other people.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. It's so easy to see it though, isn't it?
To see it
and they're so annoying. And I never do that. It's so true. Oh, it's just glorious.
Exactly. We were doing a piece of work on this, myself and Steph, one of our fabulous 4D team members, yesterday. And we really, really did encourage people to hold the mirror up. So what we look at today, yes, absolutely. Some of the terminology we'll come up with today and talk about today. Firstly, you might have heard of. Secondly, it might be very easy for you to suddenly conjure people in your mind who display these behaviours. Yeah. And of course, as we always say in 4D Human Being, even if we are in a team, even if it's a group of people or a system, we would always say probably the biggest part of what you need to do is to start with the self. So this is also about ourselves, and we are all human. None of us are perfect.
Yes,
we all display some challenging behaviours.
Okay, so why are we even looking at team toxins?
Well, we started off at the beginning of these 3 episodes talking about the pyramid, the Lencioni pyramid. And really what that talks about is how we get really high performing successful teams.
Yeah.
And right at the bottom of that is trust, and then up from that we get collaboration, and then it moves up to commitment, accountability, and then of course aligning on goals and
results
and results,
winning and celebrating,
achieving
and all that.
collectively. Yeah. And so, of course, some of the things that break down the trust, the collaboration, the commitment, the accountability are those kind of unhelpful behaviours, sort of quite negative behaviours that, if you like, they are slowly kind of chipping away at the cohesion of the team. And there's a wonderful TED talk by Margaret Heffernan called Forget the Pecking Order, and it's about super chickens.
Yes.
It really talks about the glue between people, the social cohesion, is incredibly important in terms of teams performing well together, and that speaks to the Lencioni in terms of trust and collaboration. And these kind of toxic behaviours are identified and called toxic behaviours because what they do is they chip away and remove all of that social cohesion between us. And we'll talk about where they originated in terms of the research a little bit later, and then they've been sort of moved and used in terms of the corporate world. But they're behaviours that we can all display. We'll sometimes be very unaware that we're doing them. But through research, they have been demonstrated as what they call the 4 horses of the apocalypse.
Oh, come on, charging in.
Which are the 4 core negative behaviours that are most likely to damage relationship and social cohesion.
Okay, so take a breath, everyone, because you're going to be now given, and some of you might know them, the 4 horses of the apocalypse, and probably we could all, if we really tried, recognise all of them in ourselves, but actually
we can have a favourite.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a call out, isn't there, to go, all right, as Penelope, brings these horses one by one in, can we just very kindly to ourselves go, ooh, I think that might be my favourite horse.
Yes. And the other thing to say, of course, is, obviously from a sort of psychotherapeutic and developmental perspective, there's really good reasons that these toxic behaviours exist. I mean, they are protective and defence mechanisms. They're not there just because we like to annoy other people. It's a really good thing to hold in mind that if you are having challenges with your teammates, it's pretty unlikely they wake up in the morning and think, right,
let's get Bob.
I'm going toxic to annoy Bob this morning.
Yeah.
It's so much more likely that these are behaviours that have been developed and internalised because they have protected us from something or served us well.
Yeah, and something that I talk about a lot in the therapy room and the coaching space, and I'm sure you do, is the cost and benefit analysis of our strategies, of our behaviours. And absolutely, they've benefited us well enough. They've kept us safe enough and got us here. And there's a cost.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can get to a place where for ourselves, and particularly in teams for the collective, the cost is high.
Exactly. So before we dive into the 4 team toxins and the antidotes to them, a small amount of background in terms of where these came from, because I absolutely loved this piece of research. So they stem from the work of John Gottman, the Gottman Institute, and this research was done quite a while ago. It was a piece of research that was originally done on couples, on married couples. And they were observed interacting with each other in interview situations with somebody, and also the two of them. And the observations identified certain behaviours, both positive and negative. And the negative behaviours were categorised into these 4 kind of toxins.
And the key here is it's not about the subject, the situation, or the context. No. It's about the responses.
Yes, exactly. The response,
the
patterns,
interactions,
the interaction patterns, exactly. And so what they did is they counted the number of toxic interactions in each of these 4 categories between each of the couples. And they tracked these couples for a number of years, and they predicted at the beginning which couples would stay together and which couples would...
That is one hell of a game show.
Separate and get divorced, based on the observation of the volume and type of these toxic behaviours.
Do you think they told the couples? They can't have done.
I don't know if they knew that that's what it was for.
Yeah, they can't.
But they certainly can't have said, well, we've noticed.
Yeah, we give you 4.5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they predicted in their research the couples that would stay together and the couples that would divorce. And years went by and they were tracking the couples in contact. You know, it was a big sort of clinical study. And 94% accuracy on their predictions based on observing these behaviours.
That is
it sent shivers down my spine.
Yeah, I mean, that is both amazing and terrifying.
When we talk about them, you can really, really understand it. You can understand why this happens.
And you know what comes up for me as we say that is we go right back to task and relationship. You can focus on task, roll your sleeves up, get your results, believing it's just fully the meritocracy and it's just about getting your job done. And yet this piece of research tells you that your success is going to be dictated by the glue in between, because it's not about whether these couples did the washing up or not.
No.
It's about how they did it.
Yes, exactly that. And then because it was such a hugely influential piece of research, this concept of toxic behaviours, or the four horses of the apocalypse, has been kind of utilised in many different ways throughout sort of human development, team development, psychology. And one way is looking at these behaviours in teams, which is what we are fascinated with.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is not necessarily about your husband, your wife, your partner.
And it sort of is as well, isn't it? It's about everything really, isn't it, Pen? Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's both, isn't it? Because actually what we find in some of the profilers that we do is absolutely it runs through. So your personal and professional profile is really similar, and you've got the consistency, and that probably means this is showing up all over the place.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get profilers where people are really different, and that's also telling us that, okay, there's some authenticity issues here, like there's something not running through, like what's being masked. Anyway, if you really think you're different at work and different at home, so that this doesn't apply, you've got another issue to deal with, which is who are you consistently through. Anyway,
exactly.
Great. So tell us the four horses.
So the four toxins are. So the first one is defensiveness, which most of us are probably quite.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Oh, we had this on our session yesterday. We had people doing jokes about all of these toxins. It was so funny. So defensiveness, which most of us know quite well. Somebody comes and tells you, but you didn't do that, or you didn't do that right.
Yeah.
Lots of us have got a natural instinct to make sure that the other person understands that they're wrong.
I think you'll find if you look again, actually, what you'll see is
And again, just to keep reiterating, there are very, very good reasons that we use these toxins.
And it's not the only reason isn't that the other person's an idiot.
No, exactly. Because we learn when we're young. You know, I don't want to be wrong.
I don't want to be told off for eating the cookie, so I'm going to go, Ma, I don't think it was. I'm fingerprinted.
Exactly. Which brings us to the next toxin, which is criticism and blame. So again,
you're so full of rubbish. Absolutely, listen to you, honestly.
Oh, you think you know everything? So actually. Exactly. So if you think about the cookie as a really good example, so you take the cookie and the parent or the caregiver says, you ate that cookie. No, I didn't. I didn't eat that cookie. You know, I've been really busy in the other room. You ate that cookie. Well, you've tried defensiveness.
So now.
So Philippa ate the
cookie. Penelope ate the cookie. You know that one well from childhood. It was Philippa. Philippa did it.
So that is blaming and criticism. If the defence hasn't worked, we need to attack somebody else.
Well, it's a bit like the fortress, isn't it? I'm trying to defend the fortress. Now I'm going to pour oil down the crenellations. Exactly. It's coming at you.
Or I'm going to throw somebody.
Or throw someone else off the wall. Exactly.
So that's the second one: criticism and blaming.
There is a lot about funny humour in these.
I tell you, it is quite funny because we know it about ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's the second one. So we've got defensiveness, then we've got blaming, criticism, and of course there is a scale to all of this. So they can be quite subtle.
Yeah.
Of course, they can be quite aggressive as well, but they can also be quite subtle. I mean, particularly defensiveness. Interestingly, when we're doing work on egos with leaders and teams, you can very often ask them to respond in a way that doesn't demonstrate defensiveness, and it just creeps in.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's making me think of passive aggression, which is really challenging for a lot of people. And if you think about blame and criticism from passive aggression, it's got more of a flavour of, wow, you really know your stuff, don't you?
Exactly.
You really, you've got all the answers, haven't you?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's of course, the language is saying
Yes.
one thing.
Yes.
But really we're in criticism and blaming.
Exactly. And that subtleness brings us on to the third one, which is my personal favourite, because on the scale of sort of subtle to overt, you can get really subtle with this one. So the third one is contempt. And if you want to think about contempt in terms of
I really do.
how it might display in body language,
Yeah.
just a little gentle eye roll at somebody when somebody says something.
Yeah.
And what contempt is doing, it is kind of separating you out and saying, even with a tiny little roll of the eyes, I am better than you.
100%.
You are an idiot.
You can see why that is so appealing, isn't it? Like, and also because I haven't said anything.
Exactly.
So
Well, exactly.
I've said nothing.
Exactly. And you have to be so careful, of course, because lots of us are on virtual calls now. And of course, you could sort of get away with it in the room, but now your face is on the screen. You've got to be careful with the contempt.
Well, also, I would say that you've got a very, very small window where we only have audio AI transcripts, because I think at some point fairly soon, it will be also reading visuals of, at that point, you know, Sandra smiled and looked over at, because it will be reading. So there won't be long before there's no hiding, because it will be...
She showed contempt.
Yeah, she rolled her eyes.
Exactly.
And of course, at the other end of the contempt scale, it really is...
Yeah, full on.
Full on. There and...
Did you even go to school?
Yeah, look at you. How have you even got this job? Oh my God. Or you say it to another person, of course.
Well, this is a really interesting thing about contempt. So all of these toxins are behaviours that, you know, we can display even unconsciously, and they are there to kind of protect us. Like, so for contempt, for example, it's because I don't want to feel less than somebody else. So I'm going to sort of put them down and try and make
it's like status, isn't it? If we put, while I'm not raising myself up,
I push you
down,
exactly.
And then I feel better.
Exactly. And the other thing about contempt is it has another little win to it, which is it's probably the best toxin to get a little collective tribe going with.
You're actually selling contempt.
I know,
to me now.
I know.
Yeah.
So, you know, can you imagine being in it with a group of people at work?
This is making me think of like those Survivor TV shows.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry,
You're sort of ganging up on somebody else. Because our instinct as human beings is, if we're in a tribe, we've got to make sure that other people are not as strong as our tribe, or they're out of our tribe, whatever it might be. So maybe we're in a group of people at work and we'll start talking about, oh, well, you know, that finance team, you know, they're a bunch of idiots. Yeah. So we can be collective in our contempt, and it can create social cohesion.
I was going to say, going back to Margaret Heffernan, the sneaky thing is we've now got glue.
Yeah.
And of course, you see this in the playground. It's making me think of maybe more global cultures that we've become divisive and that we slip into this because now I belong.
Yeah.
And that becomes more and more polarized.
Yeah.
So the more and more we use that glue, the more and more we bed that in, the harder it is to find a bridge.
Yeah.
Back.
That's right.
And this is because all of our energy is going towards that internal gluing. Yeah. And this is probably worth saying here, because it was coming up for me earlier. Just the energy spent on these toxins.
Yeah. 100%. Well, again, on a very small poll of people, we asked the percentage of time spent on sort of conflict and dysfunctional dynamics. About 20% of time in one's own team, and about 45% of one's time across other teams and stakeholders.
That's
now,
nuts.
obviously, that was just a small poll that we did, but that's a day or two a week.
Anybody who feels they're spending, and I guess if we add those together, that's 65%, to be fair. But anyone who feels they're spending over half of their, imagine being in a relationship where over half of your time was in the crunch.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely exhausting.
Exactly. So that's contempt.
Yeah, there's contempt.
There's contempt. There it goes. And the fourth one is stonewalling, or ignoring, avoiding. So this is very much, you know, you can imagine sort of folded arms and turning away. It's an absolute cut off of communication. So I would be a bit careful here to differentiate this from, I need to take some time out. I need to kind of reflect and gather my thoughts. That's, you know, perfectly acceptable in terms of our boundaries and what we need in our nervous system. Stonewalling is, you literally don't exist.
Yeah.
I will not engage with you.
Yeah.
And whilst there's no real hierarchy to these toxins, what the Gottman research found was that stonewalling is probably the most damaging, because at least with the others you do have some communication, but with stonewalling the communication's gone completely.
So the disconnect entirely. I am not engaging with you. I mean, this does take me to the psychotherapy kind of lens, which I know we can't speak for everybody, like everyone's got different backgrounds and upbringings, but it suggests that any kind of dialogue and trying to address difficult is so dangerous and also pointless.
Yeah, that's right.
That you've learned for your own safety to disconnect. Right. So that's hard, isn't it?
And of course, we always have to recognise with these behaviours that, of course, in some situations it might be true that any contact or communication would be too dangerous.
That you have a right to protect yourself.
Yes, exactly, both physically and psychologically. Yeah. It's just that
we carry that through when it's not true.
We carry that through when it's not true. Yeah. And there isn't actually that danger.
Yeah, those people might be manifesting an energy or a front foot or an assertiveness that for you absolutely pushes the button of when somebody is front foot and passionate. That is dangerous.
Yeah, that's right. Or, disrespectful as well can be a big one when people cut people off. So those are the 4 toxins: defensiveness, criticism and blame, contempt, and stonewalling. Yeah. So you may already be thinking about those in terms of things that you've either seen in a team you're working in, or you may be thinking, I know I can do this.
Or you may be thinking, I don't think any of those apply. And this is where, of course, toxicity in culture and relationship is like the water in your goldfish bowl. That's just what it is to be in relationship. So that's one thing that we can do. We can't really see it because that's just what it is. Yeah. Which also links to my second point on it, which is, but it's them. Yeah. It's because they keep doing that. Yeah. It's to put a bit of a highlight on those so that as we're sort of gently asking you to go, I think I can stonewall. If that doesn't feel accessible, there might be these defences in the way, which is, I don't think none of those are me. I did ignore that person, but they're an idiot.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They deserve it.
Exactly. And just again to reiterate, of course, in some cases, usually, relatively few, it may be that it's a good idea to sort of move away from people. But generally speaking, I think it's much more useful for us to look at our own behaviours because I said this to a group yesterday. I like to think of ourselves, instead of having a sort of a personality and identity, I like to think of ourselves almost as if we're walking around holding up a mirror and other people are doing the same, and we kind of catch each other's reflection. Mm-hmm. And based on our behaviours, our beliefs, our patterns, including these toxins, we will catch other people's mirrors differently. Yeah. And so, as an example, when emotions get heightened, for example, maybe if I'm in an argument or something, then possibly contempt is the space that I might go if I'm displaying some unhealthy behaviours. Now, of course, that will then elicit a different toxic behaviour in other people. Yeah. So I'll end up having quite different relationships, even when things are heightened with different people. And we're doing this all of the time. Yeah. So, of course, we can say, well, it's them. They ignored me, or they were being aggressive.
But actually, it's us.
It's actually the combination of the two. Yeah. We are responding all the time to each other's behaviours in these areas. Yeah.
And the other thing I'd say on that, which is such a thread through this work, through psychotherapy, through our personal lives, is you always have the right to walk away from a system or a relationship. But it is a very, very good question to ask yourself. Have I really self-reflected? Have I tried to acknowledge and own my own toxins here and show up in a different way? Because otherwise you definitely risk, and I'm sure all of us can relate to this, that if I have another relationship or I move to another team, it'll be better.
Well, exactly.
And unless we've done that work, it will be the same.
Yes, exactly.
word from us at 4D Human Being. If you're enjoying the show, please do click follow so that you can have the 4D Human Being podcast instantly in your feed. And we'd love it if you liked and reviewed us. Let us know what you think.
Please do think of one or two people that you could share the 4D Human Being podcast with. Somebody who would really benefit from the content you're listening to right now.
Back to the show.
Exactly. So
Toxins have a habit of following us.
exactly. We are our patterns.
We're carrying them
around
in our little suitcase.
Yes. And it's not saying right now we've got to become perfect human beings and never display these behaviours. It's not that. We are never going to be those people. It's recognising our contribution to dysfunctional team behaviours.
And also really, it's, we say this a lot of, in our work a lot, that it's great when it all works, when you've got the people that it just works so easily. Yeah. It's actually the development is
when things are tough.
Where things are tough. Those are the people to really dial up the tools, dial up the effort.
Yeah.
It's easy with people who are just get you and manage you and work with you.
Exactly. And of course the temptation when things are tough
to do the opposite.
Well, exactly can be to display these behaviours and feel very justified in doing so.
Screw them. I'm not making an effort with them. Why should I?
They're off. They're an idiot. So we are we are perpetuating the situation based on our beliefs and the behaviours that we display. So we have a choice. As always at 4D, we say you have a choice. So you have a choice, which is you stay in your position of, well, they need to change and they need to do something about it. It's not me. And this team was fine before they came along.
How successful is the attitude of they need to do the changing? In any relationship, personal, professional, how successful is that? Ever.
Well, exactly.
Never.
Exactly. And also it drags other people into it, because if you think about team dynamics, when we have problems with other team members, often we're likely to go to a colleague or to our boss to say, you've really got to sort Bob out. He's a nightmare. And then the leader has to get dragged in. Yeah. And the leader has to try and take the different views.
Yeah.
And, Bob will say, well, actually...
Oh, Pen, already.
And then,
I'm exhausted.
And then you're off.
You're off. And the other thing on that, which I really love about Toxins, that really, I think this is a really good opportunity to really, again, to sort of smile at them, is when you feel so justified because they're such an idiot or so horrible. And so you go and you find someone over over the water cooler or in the kitchenette, and you say, Sandra or Bob, they are such a nasty bit of work. Nasty. And you go into this, they're so mean. They talk about other people. I've caught them.
I would never
do that. And you're like, it's. I just find it so wonderful that you are right in it.
Yeah.
I would never go off and bitch about other people. You know what I mean? I mean, who do they think they are? And you're like, and they're completely snowblind, completely blind to it.
Exactly.
It's brilliant.
Exactly.
It's absolutely brilliant.
I know. And what I think is
they gossip.
What I think is quite useful about this is it's not the easiest thing in the world for us to hold up the mirror and go, I can be a bit like that. The first starting point is it's quite useful to have some language around this, that there are these 4 categories. Everybody does them at some point or another. So we and actually if when we start talking about the antidotes, we can see how the antidotes can really help in so many ways to kind of bring them to the surface a little bit.
Come on, Dr. Penelope.
Yeah, and allow us all to sort of accept, really.
Well, there's something, do you know what it's really reminding me of? It's really reminding me of improv, being in an improv team and also a writing team, the creative process, that because you're really working with all of your everyone's working with at the edge of vulnerability, at not knowing, and I don't know what's going to happen here. What are you going to give me? Oh, I didn't like what you get, because you're constantly in that space of this might not work, this might fail. It's one of the best ways through it is to find a language and a humour for it. Is to go, oh, was that your I'm open to any offers.
Yeah, exactly.
Attitude. And to find a way, because it's a different glue that is already an antidote before we've even looked at the specific antidote.
And this is what threads through the antidote. So
Yeah,
I absolutely love the antidotes.
Okay, Dr. Penelope, in you come.
This is the only time I'm going to be called a doctor in my life, Phil. So we'll give you 4 antidotes for the 4 toxins and a little bonus one as well, which is kind of what you've just spoken to. Okay. So the first one, defensiveness. The antidote to defensiveness is curiosity, because when we are going into defence, we are justifying, we're kind of turning the spotlight inwards and letting people know that they're wrong and that I did this.
And they need to know about me.
Yes. And what we do with curiosity is we just flip that around and go, well, I'm not going to defend this, but I'm going to step into whatever it is that you're seeing or talking about. Yeah. And it's very, very difficult to be defensive about ourselves when all we're doing is getting curious about the situation or the other people.
So let's look at what that looks like. So we move from, hang on a minute, have you looked at column 3? I think you'll find, and actually I spent all night doing that. And actually, I think when I did that, which had been totally overlooked by other people. So I'm all here. I'm all about me, what's going on for me, defend. And I shift that to, okay, so what is it that you saw there? What is it that particularly is problematic or difficult? How can we?
Yeah, what could we do differently? How can I help? So just with that body language, you can think of defensiveness as kind of hands up and pushing away, and then curiosity is kind of turning them and opening. Oh,
those
them.
palms open!
Yeah.
I love this game. We've actually I'm going to do a quick plug for a series that will come up probably early next year, which is Managing Difficult Conversations, which is going to be such a thorough, brilliant. It's got so much in it, and something that we all really are just so passionate about, because let's face it, it's the toughest thing, isn't it? It can really ruin a day.
Yeah.
But the palms open, and I love that exercise where if you clench your fists and say, I really want to hear what you've got to say. I'm really curious. It's really difficult because you're but if you open your palms, and equally the other way around, if you close your fists and go, I don't care what you think, listen to what I've got to say. And then if you open your palms and say, well, I don't really care what you think. I want to, it's almost impossible to get to the end of the sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that open palm gesture,
very different.
It's screaming up to your brain, I think we want to have a dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. So questions, it might be just self-reflection, instead of sort of going away and sort of building your case, it might be going away going, I wonder what's going on with Bob at the moment. I wonder why he's upset at the work that I've done. Or it might be, I wonder what we could have done differently. Or it might be, I wonder who else I can speak to. Like it can go in all sorts of directions, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're saying, okay, well, they're right and I'm wrong and I'm terrible at what I do. It's shifting from locking down and defending to exploring and possibility. So very different. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if maybe the answer is the palms open, but to respond to the person who goes, but why should I ask Bob?
Yeah.
He doesn't know or appreciate everything I've done.
Yeah. Well, we sort of say it's like drinking poison, isn't it? Thinking that the other person will get ill. If we are holding these feelings of defensiveness or blame or contempt or whatever it might be, we are kind of in psychological pain. We are suffering because we feel unhappy or frustrated or whatever it might be. And then we can sort of perpetuate that by sort of saying to ourselves, well, they need to change, they should do this.
But we're still
in angst.
It's one of the metaphors I love for this, which has definitely helped me. I mean, and you're amazing at kind of pulling out. People talk about taking the high road, which is fairly useful, but it has a bit of a moral tone to it. I think take the high road, they take the low road. But a way I really like to think about it is you're down in the mud pit. And you're wrestling, and everyone's, and you did that, and they go, well, you did that, and you're like, I don't want to be in this mud pit. I really hate it down here. It's wet, it's cold, it's horrible, it's unpleasant. There's no snacks. I'm full of hate. It's awful. And you go, well, there's a way out.
Exactly.
You can lift out of the mud pit and go, how can we do this differently? But that voice that goes, why should I?
Well, I want to win the fight in the mud pit.
But then you've got to stay in the mud pit.
Then you've got to stay in the mud pit. Totally, 100%. So that is curiosity, which is a great antidote to defensiveness.
And it's, by the way, as soon as you think you've won that Muppet, someone else
Exactly,
is
it's
turning up.
coming in.
It's coming
It's
in.
never ending.
Never ending. It's Sisyphean.
So the second one, criticism and blaming. And again, we can feel very justified. We can feel like the other person has done something wrong, or, you know, they need to take the rap for something. So the antidote to this is constructive communication. And what I like about this is it's a slightly sort of tamer antidote. It doesn't go quite as far as some of the other ones. And I think one of the reasons for that is probably that when you are in full blame and criticism, there's probably only so far
the love.
you can say, only so far you can
we're not going to get married. Yeah.
So
because I still think you're an idiot.
So we go into constructive criticism, and we talk about this a lot in challenging conversations. We talk
constructive communication.
Sorry.
Not constructive criticism.
No, not constructive.
That's a bit too near.
No.
Yeah.
So what we talk about is getting the rational brain online.
Yeah.
So the blaming and the criticism will likely to be more subjective, more emotional.
Yeah,
They did,
we're
you
in fight.
shouldn't.
Yeah, we're in fight or flight.
Yeah.
The prefrontal cortex is offline. So
Yes.
this is using a structure and a language to get the prefrontal cortex back.
So it
Great.
might be, can I share 3 things that have been challenging about this? Or
not, you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot.
you made all the mistakes.
Yeah.
Or it might be,
But actually, I mean, we're sort of joking about it. But even saying, can I share 3 things about this? I laughed about saying you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. But actually, it's a joke because it's not actually where you want to go when you start using language like that. Because it's silly, it's funny.
That's right.
To set up a constructive piece of communication. You know, your brain then knows you'd be the idiot if you now filled it with blaming. It's not going to work. Yeah, so that's funny. It's not, and I like tricking the brain sometimes.
Yeah. So constructive communication. This may take a bit of effort and a bit of thought.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't mean that you've got to sort of concede your position and suddenly say, well, they didn't do anything wrong. And it's being constructive and clear in how you're communicating that.
And it goes back to facts, doesn't it?
It goes back to facts, and it goes back to what our intentionality is in terms of moving forward, rather than that more emotional, you've got to be proved in the wrong.
Well, exactly. And that whole thing of you're an idiot, or I don't like you, or I'm angry, none of that has anything to do with the 3 things that have got in the way of this task being done properly.
Exactly. So that's your constructive communication. The third one, contempt.
Yeah.
So the antidote to this, it makes perfect sense, and depends how...
I'm breathing hard now.
Yeah, breathing hard. Depends how far along the sort of scale of contempt you are. You might need to take some time out.
Yeah.
But the antidote to contempt is appreciation.
I just love this
because
so much.
what that's doing is even if 98% of you thinks Bob is an idiot, I don't know how he got that role. I'm going to roll my eyes every time he opens his mouth.
Yeah.
Even if 98% of you thinks that, can you find 1 or 2% of yourself and 1 or 2% of what Bob does that you can appreciate?
Yeah.
Now, maybe on the bell curve of this, there might be 1 or 2 people in your life that you can find absolutely 0% to appreciate, but it's pretty unlikely.
It's pretty
unlikely that you're working with a human being who there's nothing that they do in terms of their work, their behaviours, their relationship skills, that you can't find something to appreciate. So even if you feel sort of contemptuous towards them and you want them to understand that they are not as good as you at something, if you can shift that into what I can appreciate about him or her is this, it's a really good way to start shifting your neural pathways, your thinking into that more positive attitude.
Yeah, even if it's, I really appreciate that they are trying their best.
Exactly.
Or I really appreciate that they are working all the hours that they need to work, or actually that they're working extra hours, even if it's something really simple.
Exactly. Or that they're really passionate about it, and perhaps that's why they're getting angry about something, or that, you know, they raise money for charity for the organisation. Like, there'll be something about them.
I really appreciate that actually Bob leaves at 5 every day because he's a really committed family.
Exactly. So that's the antidote to contempt, is appreciation. And then the last one, which I'm gonna suggest is possibly one of the hardest, although it is the way back in. So stonewalling, when we've completely cut somebody out, if we do kind of find it within ourselves to reconnect and think, okay, come on, we need to work together. What our sort of subconscious can want to do is to go back in with criticism and blaming and defensiveness. So we've overcome the stonewalling, but there's a danger that one of those other toxins will take over. But we feel good about ourselves because we've made the effort to step in. So the antidote to stonewalling and also to stop us going down the path of other toxins is care and connection. Yeah. So even if you feel somebody has behaved really badly and you've chosen not to talk to them for a while, is there an opportunity for you to sort of say, hope you're okay, checking in, can we connect with some other teammates and have a drink? Yeah. So kind of taking all of the work situation and the problems you've had offline and just going right to pure care and connection.
There's so much in this that I think is so interesting. That in this from stonewalling to care and connect, if you open that up like an envelope, there's so much research in there. Of course, when you stonewall and you disconnect, and you've gone into what we call your dorsal vagal in the nervous system, you've shut down. What you want more than anything, but you can't. It's a horrible feeling where you're inside yourself and feeling very maybe sad or angry, but you start to feel alone.
Yeah.
And what you want more than anything is connection. But it's very, you cannot ask them there because it feels like there's a wall up.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting about this is you're putting out the thing that you actually need. Yeah. So you're modelling it. The other thing about it is you're absolutely accessing your intentional self. You're taking the focus off of you, which is at the moment is a really difficult place to be. And the other thing is just going back to the dorsal vagal, to the nervous system. When we think about the polyvagal system, we're trying to get back up the ladder. We're at the dorsal vagal shut down at the bottom. In the middle, we're in fight or flight, which is that contempt, criticising, blaming, anger. And at the top, we've got safety and social connection. Yeah. And what you're trying to do from this place by trying to care for someone else is to create the social connection that absolutely is where you want your nervous system to get back to. So it is just absolutely incredible in terms of one tool that is absolutely accessing you at the core of your nervous system operation and your neurology. I just think it's amazing. And I really hear you that that's going to feel quite hard, but it feels a bit to me like, if you think about it like a sport, that it can be difficult to put your running shoes on and go out for a run. It's got a real physical it's got like a resistance to it, but it's a doing rather than well, I feel so much love, I'm gonna go and ask how they are. Actually, it's think of it more like a sport.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting that you said that, because if we think about where this research originated in married couples, and stonewalling was found to be the sort of the most toxic of the toxic behaviours. Of course, in relationship, if perhaps there has been a bit of a standoff, and and quite right that we take some time out if we need to do that, we need to get the system regulated and maybe internally kind of work through our thoughts on it. Very often, of course, what you can do in couples is you can use affection to get back together.
The repair bid,
exactly. And it won't
fancy a cup of tea.
Yeah, and it's unlikely that the repair bid will be, well, we need to have this conversation again about, it's more likely, exactly as you said, can I have a hug? Do you want a cup of tea? So it's very much in that space of just pure care and connect. Let's not go back over old ground just yet.
In fact, let's not go to the constructive communication. Let's just be in relationship.
Exactly. And ensuring that within teams, particularly in hybrid and virtual teams, ensuring that we have opportunities to do that is hugely important. I mean, particularly when we're working across silos, where are those easier opportunities to care and connect? Because, talking to leaders and teams, that's very often the thing that feels hard. Just suddenly spontaneously reaching out to somebody when there's no water cooler to stand around, there's no opportunity to do it.
Yeah, or there's no, I really like that report you just did. And actually that feels really important on this one, that it really isn't connected to the task.
Yeah.
And actually you might have to be explicit, because if you've had a difficult moment with someone, or there's a toxicity in that relationship, and you go towards them and say, I really wanted to check in with you and to see how you are. And they might very well bring up the task, the topic, the work that you were doing that caused the problem. So there might actually be something here about being really explicit. And so if they say, I know we had an argument about that project, but, blah, 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 I think, if we look at it again, I think you'll find. And actually to be explicit, to say, I really hear you. I really want to simply reach out to see how you are. Let's come back to the job, and to really name it, because otherwise we'll hang back onto the task because it's what we know. And like you say, it can feel like there's nothing to hold on to if it'll be disconcerting.
Yeah, that's right.
But it also, of course, ties in with going back to sort of the idea of it almost being like a sport or an action to do, that we're just going to think about connection, is we can also reprogram and rewire our responses by doing daily it's like anything, isn't it? If you
habit building,
it's habit building, and if you do the actions rather than necessarily unpick, well, psychologically this is, well, they did this and that's because their parents were there, like you could just do the action that's going to start to build the habit.
And I mean, hopefully in your teams and across different stakeholder teams and silos, I mean, hopefully there's not a lot of stonewalling going on. And I would offer to leaders, if there aren't simply accessible opportunities for team members to do that care and connect, 10 minutes a week, and particularly across siloed teams, really missing a trick.
Yeah. What are you
Because we
hoping
can
for?
avoid falling into these toxic behaviours by putting these antidotes in place first, like having a vaccination.
Yeah.
And then the final, there's like a bonus antidote.
Bonus me up,
which is my absolute favourite, Phil, and this was really displayed in a workshop that we ran yesterday, is play.
Yeah.
And the thing about play is, not only is it a sort of a general antidote to many of these toxins, and it's, it just switches the brain on in a different way. The thing that I really noticed about playful teams is they can play, like you said right at the beginning, they can play around the kind of the weaknesses and the toxins that they know that they bring. Like I can be playful about, well, you know me, Bob, I'm a bit like that.
And Phil, is that patient Philippa coming?
Yeah, exactly. And so
which is wonderful.
Play is absolutely joyous.
And I've said this, I think I've said this so many times, but the psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott says, the sign of great mental health in an adult is the ability to play.
And you have to be slightly careful that it doesn't push into sort of sarcastic banter.
Yes.
So you have to be a little bit careful where
that becomes
it goes.
a defence.
Yes. And if you have a team where they either have a lot of play or you've encouraged their play between them, it's pretty likely it's going to be one of the best teams you've ever worked in.
And there's a really good way to test that play is if you can play with someone else and then they can play back with you.
Exactly.
And if they can't, then you're out of whack. I want to say one more thing before we close, which feels important, is the lovely phrase, you get what you tolerate. And that if you realise that you're in a toxic culture or in a toxic team and you are contorting and compromising constantly to try to make it work, then look at some of these antidotes, look at some of these tools, because you get what you tolerate. Totally. All the time that we stay in contortion and compromise, it goes back to what you said right at the beginning. Because we're not making any change, then we'll keep having to tolerate it. So we can all do this. For ourselves and for other. But actually, we could start by thinking about, this is for me. This is going to make my life easier.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be about everyone else.
That's right, Phil. And I think as leaders as well, we can encourage these kind of antidote behaviours through little mini processes that we put in place or language that we use. So don't necessarily wait for the toxic behaviour to show up. Think about, have you got these antidotes in your team already?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Preventative, Phil.
Preventative medicine, Dr. Penelope. I love it. That's where I want to end it. I mean, 4D preventative medicine. I love that.
Well, get us in as well. We'll do a lot of play with the team.
Yeah.
We love it.
Well, there you go. Never have an ill day in your life. Let's hope we don't have many more of them this winter.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the 4D Human Being podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Do take on board some of the insights, tools and tips, because every time that you try something new to get back to choice, you are making a vote for the you that you want to become. And I love that phrase, Pen.
I do too. And please do share this episode with somebody that you know would really benefit from the lessons and learnings we've been chatting about today.
And of course, if you're interested in more from 4D Human Being, do get in touch. We run workshops, trainings, online, in person, conference events and keynotes. We've got the 4D On Demand platform for your whole organisation. And we do have a free Essentials membership where anybody can sign up for absolutely free to access some of our insights, tools and tips. So do get in touch with us if you'd like to hear more. We cannot wait to hear from you and to carry on the conversation.